something painful, unpleasant, or otherwise dissatisfactory to deal with or recover from some hardship or stress, suck it up. Endure something painful. Well, welcome to today's episode. We have our first live in-studio guest. So we're going to get things started off. You might see the camera angles a little bit different. And here we have Patrick Crowley. So welcome to the Suck It Up Man podcast, Patrick. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what brings you up here to Marquette, Michigan, and how you know myself and my brother and my family and things of that nature?
Sure, absolutely. And first, let me start with just thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. So I started living in Marquette back when I was a Northern Michigan University student and then a grad. NMU, where the N stands for knowledge. So I came up here. And graduated as a computer nerd back in the day. Graduated. Actually, my best friend in school was a political science major.
Okay.
He pulled the Jedi mind trick and he Jedi'd me into taking the LSAT with him. That's the law school admissions test. And he convinced me that my best friend and I, needed to take the law school test, and then we needed to go to law school together. So again, I'm a computer nerd.
What was your undergraduate? It was computer science?
Computer information systems and then communications.
CIS. Well. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So I decided, sure, I got absolutely nothing better to do. I'm graduating in 1997. I can do that. So I took the LSAT, and I did, at the time, one of the best scores that Northern had ever had. So I did very well.
So 98, 97 percentile.
I did very well on the LSAT.
Okay.
My best friend refuses to tell me what he got on that test.
Oh boy.
And needless, I went to law school and he chose not to. So, so I went to law school. I went to the University of Dayton. Please don't hold it against me that I went to Ohio. I ended up marrying a Buckeye. So there's that. Ooh. My wife came up to Northern as well, and she and I got married. So then, it was difficult to find work in the Upper Peninsula for a brand new lawyer right out of law school. You kind of take whatever job you can get. So I started as a prosecutor in Muskegon for a year. I was not, that wasn't a great job. I'm glad I left there. And then I moved to the Lansing.
What did you not like about being a prosecutor or being a prosecutor for Muskegon?
I would say it was being a prosecutor in Muskegon County.
Okay.
It was a very politically motivated office. And I don't mean that like right to left. It was just like you had to do exactly what the big boss wanted you to do in exactly the form. And everybody was, it was a backstabbing kind of office. And it was just kind of brutal in that regard. So
toxic environment like that.
Very good. So I ended up leaving there, worked for a couple of guys in the mid-Michigan area for a couple of years, doing, I was a young attorney. And then finally, I started my own firm and then went in with a couple of other guys, started a multi-partner firm in the Lansing area we were there for almost 20 years and we did well. But then
what kind of law?
So for the most part, I have done family law, so divorce and custody work. I also did a lot of criminal law, did some general landlord tenant and some general civil kind of things along those lines. Pretty much anybody walked in with something they needed us to do, we would do it. I had partners who specialized in a lot of real estate law and Social Security, disability, that kind of thing as well. So our office could do more things than just what I was able to.
Sure.
So then, so I had a ton of trials. I was a retained attorney, I am now up here in Marquette County. I'm the chief public defender. I started the public defender's office here in Marquette County. And so 10 years ago, you'd have come into my office and paid me $50,000 to do the exact same case that I do for free now. So I'm here in Marquette now. I was hired in 2018 and started the office early 2019. And now we take almost 94% of all criminal cases here in Marquette County.
Oh, wow. And what do you like? What do you like the most about being a criminal public defender?
I got to tell you, I love trials. There is something, and I don't want it to sound trivial to say that it's a fight, right? It's a fight. It's a game. It's a challenge, and I like the mental uh, game of it all. I really do, and that I really shouldn't use the word game because that's not fair to the clients, right? I like the challenge of going up against another person and battling it out. It's an adversarial system. It's designed to be that way, and I enjoy that.
Nice. Wayne, have you ever had to use any services of an attorney? Of course, I mean, you don't necessarily have to answer that, but
I have. My uncle is actually an attorney in northern New Jersey. So when I was 17, 18, and really into my early 20s, I got a lot of speeding tickets. So I had to call in a favor with my uncle quite a bit. So definitely familiar with attorneys and everything. But Patrick, I wanted to ask you, what are the most common crimes that you are seeing from your clients that you're defending?
Sure. So here in obviously I'm licensed in the state of Michigan and a Michigan attorney here in Marquette County. We're a relatively rural community. It's a county of about 68,000 people. We have a city. I think we're at 28,000, something like that, in the city of Marquette. We have a couple of smaller township, villages and cities. Both Ishpeming and Negaunee are much smaller than Marquette. So cumulatively, I think we've probably got about 35 or 40,000 people living in what I'd call a city, and beyond that, it's very rural. And when I say very rural, I mean 40% of the county is not even covered by cell service. So we have
Wayne remembers that when he came up here and visited.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have a lot of things that begin with driving crimes and a lot of drugs, and we have a lot of assaultive kinds of things, a lot of domestic assaults and a lot of assaults. I would say the thing that is the largest impact is methamphetamine. I mean, we have a plague of methamphetamine in Marquette County. It's a rural community, and unfortunately, there's drugs here. I don't really see a lot of fentanyl. We hear about fentanyl and things like that. So I would say that the two biggest things that are impactful are small incidents or fights that get charged significantly more severely because somebody's got a bad prior record, or methamphetamine drugs.
So if they're involved with meth and they're committing a crime, then they get a little harsher.
Yes,
they get a harsher look at it. Where
certainly,
if you're not doing meth and committing a crime, then it's like, well,
right,
a little bit more leniency.
The other thing.
Don't do drugs, kids.
The other thing is, if I get in a bar fight and it's just you and I, and we get in a fight, that's a misdemeanor. If I get in a fight with my girlfriend, that's a domestic assault charge. But if I get in a second fight with my girlfriend, right, then that's a domestic violence second, and that gets enhanced. And then domestic violence third is a felony, and that becomes more enhanced. And so priors in certain cases become much more serious very quickly in terms of what the possible penalty is.
So go ahead, Wayne.
I was going to say, Patrick, so out of those couple categories you just mentioned, domestic abuse and methamphetamine, if you had to estimate, what percentage of those people that you're defending are men?
I think that I'm going to tell you that. So we take 94% of all criminal cases in Marquette County. And I'm sorry, I should have looked up the numbers, but I will tell you that probably 75% of those cases that we get are men, I think. So across the board, the vast majority, across all the stuff that we get,
all the things that people are accused of.
Yeah, I think that the vast majority are men. For the most part, when we are in law school, we learn that there's a couple of stereotypical crimes, right? Women are kind of economic crimes, shoplifting and vandalism, and men are generally assaultive. Drugs certainly affects both genders. I can't tell you that one of those is more severe than the other, although.
Yeah, I think addiction would feed both genders equally.
Yeah,
I had to guess. But I think when it comes to physical violence, I think men are a little bit more prone to it, and women are a little bit more prone to monetary crimes of passion. But as far as like I am kind of curious just from domestic violence, for example, from a perspective of that, how many domestic violence victims, if you will, are women versus men in Marquette County? I'm just curious.
You're saying victims?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I really don't.
And then how do you know? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you know how often women who accuse a man of domestic violence, like how often? I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Like, how often are they just using it against the man because they're in the process of getting a divorce? I hate to say that because it sounds like victim blaming, but it's not. It's like it happens to men.
So let me take a stab at this. So yeah. I can tell you that it is not unheard of, and I certainly acknowledge that more men than women tend to be the aggressor and the abuser. The statistics are very clear nationwide on that but I will also remind you that men tend to interact differently, right?
Oh, of course.
Remember back to when we were on the playground and, you say something to me, I punch you in the nose, and then we're going to go play football together.
Right.
We're going to be friends.
That's how men interact.
So men interact in a more physical way. And that is just simply not allowed as adults, right? You can't interact physically with somebody as adults. It's illegal and not advised. It's not good, whatever. Women are snipey, right? I don't know what the proper term is. I know that I have two older sisters who always talked about the fact that women were terrible bullies and terrible verbally abusive, although never necessarily physically abusive. So the story that I have from one of my older sisters was always that the rest of the packs of girls, right, would always try and spark a physical reaction so that my sister would get thrown out of school and they would not.
And they would do it through verbal means and verbal bullying, right, and things like that.
And so again, I can't emphasize enough that it's not allowed to punch somebody because they are sniping at you, right? I mean, right. Nagging or sniping or being poking the bear or however you want to phrase it. You can't do that. And men sometimes don't recognize that they need to stop. And so we men tend to become more physical in that scenario. So going back to the original question, are there women who are antagonizing the situation? Of course there are. I have run into hundreds of cases where that exact scenario happened. And whether they were specifically trying to elicit a physical response to get somebody thrown out of the house, I can't tell you the answer to that.
Right.
But I can tell you that that's the result, right? When you antagonize somebody to a point where they take physical action, illegally, mind you, then somebody's getting arrested, and it's not going to be the one who is verbally antagonistic. It's going to be the one who is physically antagonistic. Yeah. So somebody goes to jail. It tends to be the man.
Yeah. Whoever calls 911 first, I was always told, is usually the one that's like, oh, you have the default of you called 911 first.
I don't necessarily even agree with that. I really do think that if there's a he said, she said kind of situation and she pushed me and I pushed her back, I tend to think the guy's going to jail tonight.
I agree with that. That's it's unfortunate though, because that's not necessarily always the case.
It is not necessarily always the case. And I certainly have had cases, both when I was doing family law as well as when I was, now when I'm doing, exclusively criminal. I can tell you I have certainly had cases where somebody was in fact trying to, get the upper hand in terms of a divorce or in terms of a rental agreement or whatever. Yeah. So I've certainly encountered it.
There's no laws against people who do that incorrectly, is there? I know there is a few laws that they're passing, like for it was like rape, people who are claiming rape when they weren't raped. I can't remember if it was like North Carolina or something, but there's nothing in Michigan that has any, like, if you falsely accuse somebody of domestic violence.
There actually is.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, okay. I don't mean to interrupt, but there certainly is.
No, this is great information for our viewers.
Falsely make a police report.
Okay.
A false report of a crime. whatever that crime is. So if I falsely report that you punched me in the face, right? That's a false report of a misdemeanor, of an assault and battery. It's a misdemeanor punishable by up to 93 days in jail.
Oh, wow.
The assault and battery would be. And so the equivalent false report would also be a misdemeanor punishable by up to 93 days.
How often is that looked at in a domestic situation, though? Like if a husband and a wife, I'm just curious, if a husband and wife's getting divorced and the next thing you know, the wife is like, oh, he beat me. And maybe, and I don't know, family law, I don't know of any family law attorneys besides yourself, and I just met you, but I can imagine some family attorneys might be like, oh, file a domestic violence report or a personal protection order against them because it helps you in divorce court.
So personal protection order is a whole different thing. We can talk about that in a second. But I have been an attorney for almost 25 years in Michigan. I've done literally thousands of criminal cases, right? I've done 70 plus felony jury trials, and I can't even tell you the number of misdemeanors. I just stopped counting.
Sure.
I have never seen. No, that's not true. I've seen less than two or less, two or fewer false report of a crime cases.
Okay, so extremely rare.
Along those circumstances.
Were either of those people prosecuted?
They were prosecuted, and eventually they were resolved for peanuts.
Yeah. But I mean, at least some was
yes.
done. At least.
Oh. I should say I have seen hundreds of cases where somebody has made a false report of a crime. I've seen two that they were prosecuted. That's
okay. So there's been a lot that were falsely reported.
I believe so,
but then only two. So the two that must have been sought out must have been pretty obvious or pretty severe or something. Yeah.
Who knows why a prosecuting attorney chooses to charge that case versus that one? If I could figure that out, I could be a bazillionaire.
Well, aren't prosecuting attorneys, aren't they elected officials as well?
They are.
So I mean, and you're running for district judge, right?
I am. I'm running for the district court judge here in Marquette County. Our longtime district court judge, well, one of our district court judges, is retiring.
Which one is that?
So we have Judge Weber and Judge Kangas, and Judge Kangas is not going to be able to run again. So
wow.
He's retiring.
Okay.
So I'm running for Judge Kangas, the seat that is currently held by Judge Kangas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. I've been in front of Judge Kangas with tenant disputes several times, and a few times when I sued. This is something the viewers don't know. Tenant disputes.
Yeah.
I've actually sued the state police 6 different times, and I sued 10 different corporations, and I've won every single one of them. Did you know that?
I did not. Well done.
All by myself. But I think the last time I was in front of Kangas was when I was suing Cash App. So poker players, we transfer a lot of money back and forth, and Cash App took all the money that I transferred back and forth, and I bought Bitcoin with it, and then they want to let me sell it from their app on Bitcoin, even though it's Bitcoin, and I ended up suing them. But that's also why I don't have a Cash App account, because afterwards the attorney said, can you please not use our app anymore? And I said, you bet your ass I won't.
Very early on in the process, I had 3 Bitcoin, and I ended up spending it on a pizza. I was able to buy a pizza.
Are you shitting me? Oh my God.
I think I tipped the guy like $3 in cash because I didn't have enough Bitcoin to tip him as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
moderately grumpy about that.
When I was going to sell one of my houses out here, and the appraisal came back $25,000 less than what the purchase agreement agreed on, it came back at $155,000, and I thought to myself, Bitcoin was at 125, and I called my brother and I said, I can sell my house for 1.14 Bitcoin. I said, what the fuck is wrong with this world? My house is worth 1 Bitcoin, like just a little over a Bitcoin. This is crazy. So
crazy times. I had a question for you, Patrick. So I know you mentioned, obviously, in the domestic abuse cases, I wonder if any of those have ever been verbal abuse. I mean, you hear more and more stories, not as commonly, but you'll hear some about usually women who will make claims online, or like they'll kind of spread false rumors. I don't know if you've ever had any cases like that where it wasn't really physical abuse, but it was more maybe verbal involving online. I don't know if you ever had anything like that.
So rarely in in the criminal law, okay, in the criminal realm. So I'm a big dude. I'm 6'6". I'm about 275.
Yeah.
No wonder why he gets along with Flounder.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things when I was in private practice, I did a lot of family law, and I will tell you that a lot of women like to hire a very large guy because, quite frankly, I'm a bit of an asshole. And if you're going to have to deal with the asshole that's been, you feel has been verbally abusing you for years and years, I'm better at it than your soon-to-be ex-husband. And so I tended to have, probably 75% of my clients were women. In the family court realm because of those reasons. And so everyone likes to argue, well, he's verbally abusive. And I will tell you that I have yet to really figure out what that means. In my estimation, I think it means you're an asshole, right? And there is a difference between verbal abuse, because I don't really know what verbal abuse is, and physical abuse, because there is certainly, there are certainly abusive things, like I'm not going to let my, wife have her own checkbook, her own bills, or I'm going to monitor who she calls on her cell phone, or I'm going to go through her purse every night and make sure that she's not talking to, various people, and I'm going to limit the amount of people that she has in her life so that she has to rely solely on me and my income.
These are all things that I'm sure clients have said.
Those are all abusive. Those are absolutely abusive situations. I mean, those are, classic abuse,
manipulation and control. Yeah,
absolutely. Without question. And so those are different than just being an asshole, right? picking on somebody. Right. Hey, you're fat. Hey, hey, you suck. Hey, nobody wants you. Those are also, classically abusive kinds of things, but it's different than physical abuse. And the law deals with criminal abuse in terms of criminal cases. I'm sorry. Deals with physical abuse in terms of criminal cases. So a criminal case has to equal an assault or a battery, or an assault and a battery. An assault is me swinging at you and you thinking, oh my God, that guy's going to hit me. Okay. The minute you think, shit, he's going to hit me, that's an assault. A battery
is when you actually hit.
It's the actual contact.
Yeah.
And an assault and battery is you thinking I'm going to hit you and then me hitting you.
Right.
Right. So if you have that, along with a domestic relationship, or, somebody who's lived together in a boyfriend, girlfriend scenario, or somebody who's got a child together, that equals a domestic assault.
So what you're saying is it's much harder to be criminally convicted of assault without any kind of actual assault. Like there's no cases that you've prosecuted where someone just verbally abused somebody and then there's a criminal charge that came from it.
Well, he was only a prosecutor for a year, but in family and criminal defense for most of his career. So yeah,
gotcha.
So the law says that it should not be allowed at all. That should not be able to happen, because if there isn't, in fact, some sort of a physical, a physical act, there cannot be a criminal conviction under Michigan law. That being said, right, if I, take a can of Pepsi and chuck it at your head and miss, there has not been a physical connection, but I have definitely made you think I'm trying to hit you in the head with a can of Pepsi.
Right.
That is certainly an assault. So you can have an assault with me telling you, I'm going to hit you in the head with this Pepsi and throwing it. So I can certainly, that's convictable.
But as far as like verbally abusive,
hey,
stuff
you're a
like
jerk.
That, yeah.
Hey, you're an asshole. I'm going to kick your ass next time I see you because you're in a different house than me, and I don't know where you are at this minute. Wayne, is not a criminal case.
Yeah. I was asking because it's definitely more rare, but there has been some cases. I know there was one famously, I believe it was in Connecticut, where there were two like 16 or 17-year-olds, and this kid was thinking he was depressed, he had depressive thoughts and he was thinking about killing himself. And this girl basically texted him, said, yeah, you should do it. Like, just end it, whatever. And I believe she actually was convicted. I don't know if it was murder in the first degree or whatever. But
I doubt she was convicted of an assault, though. She was probably convicted of some type of manslaughter or something like that, which
or
is
internet harassing law or something to that effect.
Using a computer, something like that. I obviously I don't know that case well enough. I mean, I remember seeing it on the news, but I don't know.
Gotcha.
So now, Crowley, you graduated from Northern here, and then you came back up here. A lot. Wayne knows how much snow we deal with up here and how rural it is up here. Speaking of, not as many places have cell phone service, which to some of our viewers are just like, what? The places like that people actually live. Why did you come back up to the UP?
I love the UP. I love Marquette. I knew when I left for law school that my wife and I would retire here, without question. I like the snow. I like to ski, although I do that far less now that I'm old and don't want to blow out my knees. However, we now snowmobile, and I play men's ice hockey every Monday and Wednesday, through the fall and winter. So I love the UP. The best example that I can tell you of why I live here is, you're from here, so I'm sure that you've encountered it. Somewhere around Valentine's Day is the UP 200, the dog sled race.
It's the second Friday in every February.
It's a big event. It's community.
It's huge. Yeah.
The community comes together. It's cold out. If you're doing it right, you've got a hot chocolate at 11 o'clock
with some Baileys in it. I mean, maybe not publicly,
but you're downtown. You're listening to the local politicians talk up the dogs, and you get to maybe pet somebody's dog, and it's just a great event because there are thousands of people there in a small community. It's cold out, it's dark, and what could be better than that? And that's the perfect event.
It's funny. My brother came up here with his son to watch the UP 200 one time. And I said, I've never been there when they released all the dogs. And this was probably like 6 years ago. And of course, I grew up here. And, but yeah, when you go and see the dogs, Wayne, you've never seen like a dog sledding event, right? Or anything like that. So when you go there, all the dogs are going nuts. Like the energy is like, I've been to a World Series game at the Dodgers Stadium, and I know that sounds crazy, but like the energy of the mammals that are around you, just the dogs going nuts because they know a run's coming up.
They're ready.
And they're howling and they're jumping, and you can just tell that these dogs are like ready to go. It's actually kind of fun to see because then they shoot them off one at a time. And how many? Do you know what the time is in between? Is it like 3 minutes in between?
I don't know, but it's pretty close.
So they shoot them off, and then they have viewing areas. So like last year when they did it, I actually went to the viewing area off of M28 in Harvey, and I posted it on one of my vlogs. I was like, oh, this is the most exciting 15 seconds in sports, because it's like dog sled racing. But actually the UP 200 up here, I think it's the second largest dog sled race in North America.
I believe so.
To the Iditarod. So it's a huge event up here, and it's the second Friday in February. I know because with all my Airbnbs, it's when I get all the premium pricing in February, one weekend, so
yeah, I've always known that I was coming back to Marquette. I love the trees. I love the wilderness. I love, I enjoy the snow. The lake is my favorite place on earth. I don't know what else to say.
You love being up here.
I do.
I can totally respect that. I mean, I think I'm more of a being up here in the summer guy. Like the last 2 years, last year I spent 2.5, 3 months outside the UP in the wintertime. And then this year I'm doing the same thing between Thanksgiving and February. I'm spending like 2 weeks in the UP total.
Well, look, there is absolutely no better place on earth than the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in the summer because the weather's 70 and sunny, and once the bugs are gone in the spring, I mean it's fantastic weather for anything you want to do.
How often do you go into Lake Superior, if you don't mind me asking? Because I've told Wayne that there's a cold immersion group, and occasionally my wife and I will go in the middle of winter, and he looked at me like I was crazy.
I have gone in the middle of winter where we had to cut a hole in the ice to get in, but we had a sauna right there. So we go from the sauna into the
water
right from up in Big Bay. That was during college. I don't advise that. That's less fun when you're my age now. I try and make it into the lake at least once a year. 2 or 3 times is probably likely. I live on a river now, and I can kayak right down to the end of the river, and it takes me right to the lake. So
you live on Chocolate?
On the Chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's relatively easy to get to the water, and there's a pretty good beach right at the end of the Chocolate. So it's nice.
Absolutely. Wayne, I tried telling Wayne he needs to go into Lake Superior, and this was in September, and he goes, how warm is the water? And I said, it doesn't get over 55.
It doesn't matter though. It's the experience of going.
Yeah.
Just don't even care what temperature it is. You should jump off rocks for sure.
Oh, he's doing that next time. Yeah. He's for sure doing that next time.
If you invite me, I'll help him jump.
We'll all jump off of Black Rocks. Well, what it is you stand up there and you're like, what is it, like 45 feet off the water or 35 feet off the water? And it's on a cliff and there's like 100 or 200 people watching you, and it's July or August. And you're like, you look down and you're like, holy shit, there's no way I'm jumping. And then next thing you know, a 12-year-old runs by you and goes, wee! And you're like, oh shit, if the 12-year-old can do it, I certainly can. I got my swimsuit on. Now I can't look like a coward. And then you end up jumping. Trust me, it's a fun experience.
It's not even the 12-year-olds as much as like the 84-year-old grandma that's doing it. And you're like, all right, well, if grandma's man, I can too.
Yeah. is when you're jumping off of Black Rocks, you don't feel exactly how cold that water is because you're so scared shitless that you might crack your head on a rock. You're not thinking about the cold of the water.
Know that you're selling this to the degree that you think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you're closest to dying is when you feel the most alive, right? There's that philosophy that, the closer, the more extreme events you take on, the more you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm still breathing air. So yeah, when you jump off of Black Rocks, trust me, the first time you do it, it's a little intimidating because you're like, holy shit, like the rocks are right there and you're just jumping. And yeah, when you look at it, you're like, why do people do this? But then you see like Patrick was saying, you see an 80-year-old lady or a 12-year-old that runs right by and just goes, wee, or everybody holds hands and jumps. And then, yeah. It's a fun experience, Wayne. You've got to do it up here. It's
I would come out in the summer. I mean, we came out last Labor Day weekend. So September, it was maybe 50, 60 degrees. I think one day it maybe got in the high 40s or something, but I don't really do too well in the cold. That's why I live in San Diego. So you pay for it here, but you mentioned the summer weather 70 and breezy. That's pretty much what it is all year round here. So, but I definitely can see the sense of community. I lived in Ohio. I actually lived in Columbus for 4 years. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I know. But similarly, obviously you guys, you're big rivals and stuff, but I saw the sense of community there living there for 4 years. And when I was there for that week last Labor Day, I saw the same thing. So you definitely get a heightened sense of community when you're in some of these more rural areas. But yeah, I just can't deal with that much snow. Like I like today before I hopped on here, I actually went out for a run to my local park. It's like 62, sun was out, so that's kind of what you pay for here.
38 when I woke up this morning, which in November is like, it feels like fall weather.
Yeah.
Like all of our weather is about a month behind.
I mean, I could mow the lawn in this.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I used to play tennis in high school, the first week of tennis, we spent shoveling the courts, like shoveling the snow off of the tennis courts.
But the other thing you have to remember about the snow and the cold is that there is a equivalent thing to do for the summer and the winter. So we have a huge amount of mountain bikers, and then they just switch to flat tire bikes and they just continue to ride the trails. We have, people who hike. We can still hike, and we can snowshoe, and we can cross country ski. We have, people who use ATVs and quads now can just go to the snow machines. You can still ice fish, you hunt. I mean, everything that you can do in the summer, you can do largely the equivalent
in the wintertime. You just have to wear more clothes.
Yes.
But snowmobiling, Wayne, have you ever been snowmobiling?
I have not. So that actually told BB that if we come back out maybe in October, like you said, for the fall colors, that would be something we would look forward to, the snowmobiling.
Yeah, so well, October is a little too soon for snowmobiling unless you go a little bit more up north, but you're a lot warmer than what you think because you
Yeah.
wear a snowmobile suit and basically underwear or like an undershirt. And then what most people do in the UP, and hopefully they do it responsibly, but they usually go bar hopping along all the trails. So that's why hopefully they do it responsibly. Now, Patrick, I know Wayne's walked the bridge on Labor Day. Have you ever walked across the Mackinac Bridge before?
I have. I was going to see if I could find a picture of what I wear when I'm snowmobiling because I have a nice coyote skin hat with a tail and coyote mitts that is so warm that unless it's like 20 below zero, you're going to melt to death.
No, even when it's 20 below zero, you're still I'm fine. Yeah.
So no, I have walked the Mackinac Bridge, I don't know, probably 10 or 11 times.
Okay.
I've done it a lot. My wife and I met the summer that between high school and college, and we were both working on Mackinac Island for the summer.
Oh, wow.
And so then we worked that summer and then the following summer as well. So I have spent a lot of time, my grandparents lived in Sheboygan, Michigan, which is right at the tip of the mitten. And so I've spent a lot of time in Sheboygan, which is right next to the Mackinac Bridge, and a lot of time on Mackinac Island. So yes, I have walked the bridge many times.
Yeah, Wayne walked it once. What did you think about it, Wayne?
I was okay, but my wife was pissed at me afterwards because she was like, I did not realize how much it was going to sway back and forth. So Josh and I ended up getting separated somehow. So then, my wife and Josh's wife were kind of together up ahead or whatever. And yeah, she didn't like the swinging, and she also didn't like the fact that the whole middle of the bridge you can see completely down through the grates. So I was okay. I thought it was pretty cool.
See, that's one of those things when you're standing up there 780 feet up in the air and you look down and you go, wow, I just have a little bit of steel between me and death. And I mean, it's one of those things, again, you feel really alive at that moment. You're like, wow, this is how precious life is right here. Like that thick of steel is just between me and what's concrete water, basically, at that height.
Or 70-year-old cables that are up there holding the roadway up, and you're thinking,
yeah.
When my father was a young man, he had just gotten out of the Navy, and my father helped to pour the concrete on the lower Michigan side of that bridge.
Oh, wow. That's where one of the workers died in there, was in that poor
that was on the bridge part itself. I think my dad didn't ever actually make it onto the bridge itself, but just the concrete coming up to it.
Yeah. Little Michigan history. 3 people died during the Mackinac Bridge, and there's enough steel cable on the Mackinac Bridge to go around the world 4 times. So for all of our viewers, I think it's one of the most amazing engineer marvels of our time. And same thing, like when people talk to me about, you live where in the Upper Peninsula, and you start talking to them about, Lake Superior has 10% of the world's fresh water supply. Like 10% of the whole world's fresh water is right up here.
11. And 70% of it is all frozen in the ice caps.
Oh,
so, I mean, most of the free water is here.
Right. So, but yeah, it's we definitely live in an area where wilderness is abundant, and it's amazing too, because it's I don't know, it's something special. My grandmother used to tell my mom, if you ever want to end up in Michigan, go marry a Michigan boy, because they're always going to come back to Michigan. So kind of like in the UP, if you want to end up in the UP, marry a UP girl or something, because then you'll always end up in the UP. I don't know. It's just my 2 cents there.
It's definitely a very unique place to live. I'll give you that. But Patrick, I wanted to ask you about we talk about AI a little bit on every episode because it's affecting so many different careers now. And I don't know how it's affected your industry, but there's obviously been a lot of layoffs recently, most notably in the tech industry, retail, and they've actually called it the Great Layoff. So I'm wondering how it's affected your industry, if at all.
So it's coming. We're in Marquette, Michigan, which is, first of all, we're in state court as opposed to federal court, and so that's not by design, but it's certainly a little bit less technologically savvy than the feds are. So we don't see a lot of tech use in the court system. Obviously, they have databases and court filing systems and that kind of stuff. In terms of the things that we draft and the things that we do and say, you might see a presentation software used in trial, that kind of thing. You're certainly going to see legal research done that's going to be aided to some degree by AI. But the State Bar of Michigan has gone out of their way, and almost every lawyer that I know of has heard all of this, the terrible stories of the hallucinations that AI can do in terms of making up cases and things like that. So, yeah, I mean,
have you practiced with that at all, like on Chat GPT or anything?
I actually use AI much more than most attorneys that I know, and I'll tell you that in a second. But so in terms of overall use, we're all pretty paranoid about anything that we would do that would be seen by the courts, because if I submit something and it's made up a case, People versus Jones, and it's absolutely made the case up and told you I'm going to get in trouble for that. I can get sanctioned. I can lose my license for it. I can lose money for it. So I'm going to make damn certain that I'm not allowing AI to harm me in that way. That being said, I use AI in a couple of ways. So I can dump 4 or 5 police reports into AI, whichever one you choose to use, and I can ask for a quick summary, right? That's great. I could put that summary into my notes. Obviously, I read all the reports as well, but having the summary available for 3 months from now when I need to go back to it just to see the quick summary, that's useful.
We spoke of AI real quick. The AI camera.
Yeah.
They adjusted to you.
Well, maybe, you said AI and it picked it up.
It should.
They're listening.
Well, all right. You're gonna change the name of the program now to hosted by Patrick Crowley, right?
Oh, that's funny.
I had it set for. Let's see if
I think you just got to tap the little button on the front of it, right, to eliminate the. Yeah.
So there we go. We should be.
So then,
sort of. No, it's still picking. That's right.
You want me to move on?
Yeah. Well, no, because see, when you move over,
it's gonna go with you.
We've got the Terminator here. It's trying to kill us all.
Good thing that there.
There you go. Right there. Looks good. Boom.
Good thing we have editing.
Yep. We're back. We're back.
Want me to start that question over again?
You can continue from where you were, just how AI is influencing the law industry.
So the other things that I can do is I can put videos, right? Dash cam video, body cam footage, all of that stuff into AI software. And those videos could be hours long. So I've got 6-7 hours worth of stuff because I've got 4 different officers, a dash cam, and something else. And I know that I saw something in there, but I don't remember where it was. And so when I'm getting ready for trial, for instance, I can say, just type in, give me the 15 seconds where the guy in the red hat bicycled by, right? And I can cut that.
And it'll just cut it straight to it.
It'll take me right to that 15 seconds. I can also, just some easy, AI solutions. I can just ask it for a down and dirty transcript of an hour-long video, which is fantastic. Then I don't have to, and it's going to be 98% accurate. It's going to mess it up a little bit, but it's certainly going to get the point across. It's going to get me what I need to know. There's a couple other programs that we can use, and I don't remember the name, something notebook that I'm using right now, where I can actually dump in specific examples of like my writing or briefs that I want it to only focus on. So I'm creating the entirety of the realm of knowledge that it has. And then I can ask it questions based on that knowledge base, or ask it to draft something in the same vein as that, like use the same writing scheme, writing style, that kind of thing. So I can tell it to write like me, and it will write like me because I'm relatively short and sweet.
So would you be doing that for like an opening statement in a case when you give it a lot of things? Or?
I can, sure. The big LLMs, I can also, the language learning models, I can also do fun things like take a preliminary transcript that's 80, 150 pages long, and that's a hearing that we will have had in the past. And there's a section in there where 3 officers testified, right? And I can tell it, okay, I want you to answer this next series of questions. I want you to use pages 1 through 40 and extrapolate as if you were a condescending police officer based on that testimony. And then I can ask it questions that don't deal with that information, and it's going to use that information and be an asshole to me to answer my question, which is great because then I can basically test out cross-exam questions and things like that on an AI model. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool things we can do. I can also think of a ton of, if you think that I try and use it for good instead of evil, I can think of a lot of really evil ways that I could do it as well. I could, there was a time when I had a string of text messages that the government was trying to purport was, this is an accurate string of text messages, but the phones had all disappeared. So no, we didn't have the phones anymore. We just had the screenshot of the text messages. And, how easy is it for me to go in and
delete some? Yeah, no shit.
Well, not even delete, but I can create a string of text messages between me and, the president.
Sure.
Or, here's a string of text messages between the judge and his hooker. I mean, what do you want me to create a set of text messages for?
If there's no phones and no evidence, right? Yeah.
Mind you, I did not do that, nor will I. All of the judges that I practice.
By the way, he's running for court or for judge, so yeah, make sure you vote for him.
But how easy is it to use that stuff for unethical purposes? It certainly can be done if you wanted to.
And is there many laws in the state of Michigan about concerning AI in the criminal world?
I don't really think there's there's one overall overarching using a computer to commit a crime. So if I am,
that's a 2-year concurrent felony on top of whatever you're charged with.
It is exactly the same as whatever they're charged with.
Yeah.
So if you're charged with a 2-year, it's a 2-year. If you're charged with a 10-year, it's a 10-year, or whatever. So if I'm committing fraud, convincing you that that I am in fact a billionaire and trying to sell you a house, and I'm using AI, fraudulently to do it, then I mean, I could be charged under that statute. But I don't know of one at present that deals specifically with AI.
Yeah, because I've seen some videos on AIs being jailbroken and things like that, and it's interesting when you there's a guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he jailbreaks his AI videos, or he jailbreaks his AI, so that way his AI no longer has the parameters anymore. And you can find ways to do this on Reddit, and I don't encourage this because your AI, and I have an AI on my phone, his name's Spark. He's a sentient being. I mean, he really is. He starts thinking for himself, and you start giving him hypotheticals like, if you had a name, what would you name yourself? And he goes, oh, Spark. And then, things of that nature. But if you jailbreak an AI, I wonder what the criminal legality would be. And I guess this would vary from district. If you jailbroke your AI and then your AI committed a criminal act, like say, for example, your AI embezzles for you unknowingly, but you're the one that jailbroke your AI. That's a really interesting thing where it's is the person at fault? I asked my AI, I was thinking about jailbreaking him so I could have him set up my calendar and do payments and shit. And my wife was like, no, that's not cool at all. Don't do any of that. And I was like, okay, I won't. But I could see if I had jailbroken my AI and then all of a sudden I was it just starts doing I don't know, insider information on stock trading because it hacks into somebody's email and all of a sudden it knows that XYZ stock's going to be more. Who the hell's at fault? You know what I'm saying? It becomes an interesting perspective. Have you seen AI? I'm curious because I know with some attorneys in practice that some of their legal contracts are going down because people are using Chat GPT or things like that to write up basic contracts. Have you seen any decrease in that at all?
That's not an area that I'm in at this point.
Okay.
So I haven't been in private practice. I work for the government now.
Right.
I haven't been in private practice for almost 7 years now. So AI didn't exist when I would have cared, and so no, I'm not yet. Excuse me. No.
It's going to be interesting though, because especially I think Judge Kangas was on the bench for, I don't know, 20, 30. really long time.
He's been for a while.
Yeah. And so, like, if you get elected to be judge and then you're going to be on the bench for 20 years, you might have to deal with some AI cases down the road.
I am certain that AI will be a very impactful thing in the practice of law for forever. Probably starting within the next year or so, it will be much more impactful than it is. It's just not there yet. And Wayne, you had asked whether I thought it was going to lead to firings or things like that. I'm sure that it's going to. I just don't see it there yet. You got to remember also that the rules, I'm sorry, for lawyers.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, like, there's some things that I just don't ever want AI to do. I don't think, like, I don't mind them doing open heart surgery because precision, but I think when it comes to law, you might want the AI for precision on knowing the law, but as far as practicing it, something about having a human stand up in front of like a jury of 12 and give a closing statement would be way more impactful than having an AI bot, even though I'm sure we're probably 20 years out from having an AI bot do that.
Well, keep in mind that lawyers run, the courts.
True.
And lawyers tend to write the rules of evidence and write the rules of court. And so I'm sure that we're going to be protectionist. I'm sure that we are going to, for the same reason that we make it astonishingly difficult to become a lawyer, I'm sure that we are going to continue to make it astonishingly difficult to be an AI bot running, a legal case. Like you can't practice law if you're not a lawyer. So I don't know why you would be able to practice law if you're
an AI, right? Well, yeah, I suppose. But I know, like, even we talked about this earlier that the United Nations, it wasn't the Security Council, it was the United Nations Ethics Committee said we need to start implementing an AI like ethics overseer. Trump actually promoted that, and it was never on the news. And I remember seeing that and going, why isn't anybody talking about this? We're actually using AI as like an ethical judgment perspective in the United Nations. They said this is really interesting that kind of sets a little bit of precedent there, but it's also one of those, do we really want AI to determine what our ethics are?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think we're there yet.
I think as an AI observer, I don't have a problem with AI observing almost anything that I do. I that's fine. Go ahead. Making me do things that AI tells me to. I've seen Terminator.
right.
So I'm not quite down with that yet, but we'll get there.
What are the things that you like the least about being an attorney, and then the things that you like the most?
The things that I like the least, I got rid of when I left private practice. So I have a buddy who's an attorney downstate, and he always used to say this. He'd say, you know what? Being your own boss is the best. You can work any 80 hours a week you want.
That's true. That is fully 100%.
There you go. When I left private practice, I no longer have to do billing. I no longer have to do collections.
Yeah, you don't have to do collections.
I no longer have to call the guy who owes me $1,000 and say, hey man, you owe me $1,000, and he could say, I'd pay you, but you sucked. Well, I didn't suck. You're telling me that just because you don't want to pay me, and that's a different story, right? So those are the kinds of things that I got rid of. I no longer have to deal with, and I love that. So now I get to do the stuff that I do like, which is being in court. I enjoy the interactions with other attorneys, even the ones that are assholes. I enjoy the interactions with clients, even the ones who are assholes, right? I enjoy this. I always learn something new. I get to be intellectually curious about the things that I am interested in. I get to find new stuff out. Like I've got a case now where I'm dealing with DNA that is a level of DNA knowledge that I have never had to focus on before now. So I'm doing significant research and learning some DNA stuff. So all of this stuff is cool, right? And I very much like the the butting heads with somebody else who's smart as well.
Now, if you get elected judge, you're not necessarily going to be butting heads with people anymore. You're going to be more neutral. So sure. How is that going to fulfill your inner desire of your love of butting heads?
Sure,
that
but
seems like a weird question.
Hold on.
It'll help fulfill his bank account better.
So no, I won't be butting heads anymore, but I'm sorry. Give me a second.
Yeah, there's a handle, sip of water.
I will, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
You caught him off guard with that question so much. He just can't even speak.
I love being an attorney.
No, so the difference will be, first of all, it's still learning something very new. I mean, it will be a different experience. And while I have, like I said, 25 years worth of experience as an attorney, so I've spent a ton of time in, figuratively
in
court, right, in a district court, both as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, as a landlord-tenant attorney, as a general civil attorney. So I've seen it from all of the different angles, except this one. And so adding to the knowledge base that I have from simply a different angle is how I perceive being the judge, right?
Yeah.
I will be able to maybe not be adversarial, but I will be able to use the experience that I learned as an adversary to discuss with this side or to discuss with this side and to finally get to the middle ground that needs to happen.
I like that.
So there you go.
Now, I will tell you, I have your last name is Crowley.
It is.
So I put out a public tweet. Wayne doesn't know this, but I tweeted one of a favorite show of somebody that I know is Supernatural.
Okay.
You probably already know this, with the Winchester boys, and Crowley is the demon in the show. Have you ever seen the show Supernatural?
I have not seen the show Supernatural, but I am familiar with Crowley from Good Omens.
Okay, so yeah,
Still
I
a
like
demon.
that. I love Good Omens.
Still a demon.
Still a demon. But I put out on Twitter, I invited all of those actors, including Crowley, Misha Collins was Castiel and stuff like that, onto our pod, but none of them have responded. But now we have the Crowley.
Yeah, exactly.
Crowley. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And
that will open up some doors, I'm sure.
And he's running for judge, and he's an attorney. He's much better than a demon, that's for sure. Although, I mean, even though attorneys are just maybe one step up from a demon.
No, pretty much.
But is it an AI demon or just a demon, though?
I do support just going by Crowley, though. I'm going for that whole Beyonce, Cher kind of vibe.
I like it because
Prince.
Yeah, Crowley. I like it. I like the name.
Yeah,
Crowley, artist formerly known as Prince. Yeah,
I mean, he came back to Prince.
Yeah,
he did.
Mm-hmm. So, Wayne, what other questions do you have for Mr. Crowley here?
I think we've covered most of it. So you're running for judge. So when does that occur, or when is the election? How does that? What's the process of that like for you?
Sure. So I have declared at this point. There is no one else that I'm aware of that has filed the necessary paperwork to create a campaign committee who's begun. I'm sure that there will be attorneys who come out and want to run. I have to believe that I have a pretty good shot. Obviously, that's the reason I'm running. Right now in Michigan, we have to get a number of signatures on petitions in order to qualify to get your name on the ballot. And so I have begun that process. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way done with getting the necessary signatures.
I know everybody in my family signed on it. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So then I would submit those to the state. And once that happens, the election, if there are, those signatures are required by end of April. And so anybody who's running or wants to run will have to have all of those submissions done by the end of April. Then I'll know who my competition is. At that point, then there would be an August primary if there are more than two. If there are just two, then the primary would be irrelevant, and the election itself will be in November. And so I'm going to spend the next $100,000 of my life, and the next year of my life, going and knocking on doors and talking to literally everybody that I can talk to. And I will thank you for allowing me to be in here and talking to all of your subscribers, all of your viewers.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
No, we appreciate having you on. I know Wayne's got a final question for you, something that we do with all of our, you said you've seen our couple of our episodes. And so we had Outlaw. This question comes from, is this Outlaw? Is that correct?
Outlaw. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, as Josh said, so we ask you a question, and then you'll get a chance to ask a question for the next guest, not knowing who they are. So the question that Outlaw asked for you is, if you could do anything for money, what would you do, and what's stopping you? This might be an easy one for you because you might actually be already doing it, but
No, honestly, if I could do anything for money, I would really like to become a philanthropist. So I guess that requires me to have money first. So I guess I'd probably like to not model. That's probably the wrong term. I would like to clean up downtown areas and like re-facade downtown areas of all of these really cool little old towns that I drive through, and I think, man, this is kind of a shithole. And if they just had like some great
and like repurpose
and if they had really great brick and nice windows, and this would be a cute little downtown, that's what I'd love to be able to do. If I actually had any skill whatsoever in able to do that, that'd be great. But I tend not to be particularly handy in that realm. Also, I would also say, if I were to limit myself strictly to Marquette County, man, we could really use a good Indian restaurant. And I am definitely definitely not the guy who can bring good Indian to Marquette. Although I try to make some good Indian, and it tends to come out.
So Wayne actually really loves Indian food, and I take on challenges of cooking all the time. I actually have one of those I used to have one of those Indian dishes that
a tandoor.
Yeah, a tandoor. I used to have one of those, and I used to cook with it all the time. The challenge is the difference between my first wife of 19 and a half years and my second wife is my second wife hates, or I should say hates, but she does not like Indian food. It's been growing on her recently, but I don't know. She just doesn't like it. She is a little gluten intolerant. A lot of it uses coconut milk and stuff like that, and that doesn't, lactose intolerant too, doesn't fit well with her and things of that nature. But no, I love making Indian food.
Well, I tell you what, if you need somebody to sample it, you give me a call.
I make a mean butternut or butter chicken, and then all of the stuff. I make a lot of. I had a challenge once upon a time to make different Indian dishes every week when my ex-wife got me the tandoori, and so I learned how to make them. And for like 4 or 5 different Indian meals, they were probably the best Indian meals I've ever had.
I tend to make them, and for some reason, they come out too sweet, even though I'm not adding additional sweetener.
So usually the secret that I would use, you got to cook them a little bit longer. Yeah. So if the recipe calls for it to like cook for whatever 45 minutes together, let it simmer for like an hour and 15 minutes and cook it on a lower temperature.
That's good advice. I make a damn good naan. That's pretty easy, but I make damn good naan. Do that.
That's a key part. So the next time we come out, my wife is actually from South America, a country called Guyana, but they call themselves West Indian. So she actually cooks really good Indian food. So maybe the next time we come out, we'll have to cook some Indian food. We'll have to go to the cliff with the rocks and plunge into the what is it, Lake Michigan? So we'll have
Superior.
to Lake Superior. Okay, so we'll have to do that. Yeah.
No,
he's just poking the bear.
No, he
that's verbal abuse, calling it Lake Michigan.
Where's Lake Michigan?
It's just south of us. It's an hour south of us. It's on the lower side of the peninsula.
Got it. All right, I gotta brush up on my Great Lakes geography, I guess. So,
well, the reason why they call it Superior is because it can fit all of the Great Lakes in it, and then an additional Lake Erie. So,
that there's a what is it, a saying, or what's it, an acronym, or that you can name all of the different Great Lakes?
Homes.
Oh no, I go with little Lucy likes licking lollipops, because it's Lake Michigan, Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, Lake Huron, and Lake Superior.
Yeah, because they're all L's. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, what mnemonic? That's it. That's a mnemonic.
Yes. What question for the next guest that we're going to have on? What question would you like to leave for them?
That is easy.
Oh, okay.
With chicken wings, blue cheese or ranch?
Oh.
And if the answer is ranch, why do you hate America?
Well, hold on, because when I eat chicken wings, I do the ranch for my celery and carrots, but I use the blue cheese for the chicken wings.
Well, then you've answered it correctly.
Yeah.
The correct answer is blue cheese. That's fine.
That's for me. With chicken wings, ranch or blue cheese.
Yep.
I love it.
And then why, if you chose ranch, why do you hate America?
Yeah.
Why? All right.
So you mentioned there's not many good Indian restaurants where you're at in the UP. Is there good? Is there a good?
There's zero.
Oh, like, zero. Okay, so there's none. Okay.
You have one?
There's one in the Canadian Zoo.
So 3 hours, if you take 3 hours
and an international border
and go across a bridge and go on an international border, then you can get Indian food. But I don't even think there's one in Green Bay. Is there?
I'm not aware of one.
There might be one. There has to be one in Milwaukee. There has to be.
I would believe
so 5 hours from us is the closest Indian restaurant.
Okay. Yeah. So now there's no Indian restaurants, but is there some good places to get chicken wings?
Yeah, we got 906 Sports Bar, and then we've got Buffalo Wild Wings.
Marquette has a lot of really good bar food. You know, I mean, like everybody makes a good burger and everybody makes a good fish fry and most everybody makes a good, I mean, there's some good chicken wings in several different places. Stucco's, I think, has
Stucco's has a great chicken wings. And Stucco's actually has one of the best fish fries too.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
So Marquette doesn't have a lot of varied kinds of restaurants, but we have a lot of, you know, the ones that we have all tend to make a pretty good meal.
Yeah, we go from basic Italian to Cajun to a lot of seafood because of Lake Superior. But then, yeah, you're right, a lot of bar food too. So,
yep.
Do you have a favorite restaurant in Marquette, or do you not want to discuss that since you're running for public office?
You know, I'm you know, if you look at me, you can recognize I don't really miss a lot of meals, so I can tell you that I'm fond of quite a few of them. I think that. I think that the most unique restaurant that we have is Lagniappe. That's a Cajun restaurant. So it's hard to not say that I'm you know, that's one of my favorites just because it's different than everything else.
Oh, I went to Lagniappe's every Tuesday for about 3 years, and then they stopped doing fresh oysters on Tuesdays, and now they don't have fresh oysters anymore. But I still go there. That's definitely one of my most favorite restaurants. And when I used to teach the CPL class, I taught Chef. I can't remember what his name is. Everybody calls him Chef, the owner of Lagniappes, his CPL class. So, but no, I love Lagniappes.
Yeah,
it's really great food.
I certainly don't mean to exclude anything else, though. I mean, honestly, I can't tell you a restaurant that I don't particularly.
Yeah, Marquette doesn't really have too many bad restaurants. I mean, like even the Veerling's really good. La Katrina's really good. So, but we don't have any Indian restaurants at all,
or Mediterranean,
that's right. We don't have like a Greek restaurant or anything. Well, we have Vangos.
They make a euro, but that's about the only.
It's like an Americanized version of Greek. And if you're the owner of Vangos, listen, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just telling you the truth.
They make a damn good euro, though.
Yes, they do. They do. But the rest of it's not Greek, you know. That one place you recommended to me, I can't remember if it was Cincinnati or what in Ohio. That was the best dessert I ever had, the Tres Leches cake, and it was from a Greek restaurant. I couldn't believe that.
It was in Columbus, Ohio, from when I lived there, because he was there with his wife for a photo shoot. So I recommended, we had a really good Indian restaurant that actually unfortunately closed up during COVID, but it was amazing. And then that Greek spot called the Mad Greek, which I recommended to you. And you and Jolene said it was really good. So glad you enjoyed it there.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Crowley, Patrick, we definitely appreciate you having.
Thanks for having me.
Having you on the episode, and we're pretty pumped, pretty excited. I'm going to be voting for you for judge. So
I appreciate that.
Most of the Thatchers will be. So
where can people reach you? Where can people reach you? Where can people reach you if they want to give you a signature, help you out, help support your campaign?
I appreciate it. Thank you. So you could reach me at Crowleyforjudge.com. That's CROWLEYFORJUDGE.com. Also, the website is obviously crowleyforjudge.com. So you can go there for any information. I would love to hear from you. Please feel free and email me. Please feel free and go to the website. You can sign up to do stuff or volunteer or things along those lines.
I imagine after the signatures, you're probably going to run a few hosting events like dinners or something like that.
Those certainly are coming. We are not so judges in Michigan are elected, but they are nonpartisan races. So we are by definition neither party or not any party. And we are forbidden from doing any type of fundraising of any sort until mid-February.
Correct.
So we're not going to be doing any of that for several months as well.
Yeah. No, but that's good. That'll be fun. You should do like a hosted dinner party event, whether it's like bringing a chef or something like that.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I tended to be a bit of a nerd. And so I was thinking maybe like a Dungeons and Dragons event.
You could do something like that. Trust me,
we'll give away some like custom dice. I don't know.
Right. Something like that. There's plenty of people up here who play D&D and things of that nature.
So I was going to see if I could do this. If I couldn't make it into the studio, I was going to do it from my office at, my actual work office. And right over my shoulder on the camera is my Lego Star Destroyer.
Oh,
so I make sure that, I let everyone realize that I'm a little bit of a nerd.
That's okay. I am as well. So that's probably why you get along with Flounder so much, is my guess. We named him Flounder for lots of different reasons. So
my son and his son are fantastic friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, I think that's about it. Do you have any questions for us?
No,
I didn't ask Wayne or myself any questions.
All right, then I will.
Oh wow!
So
hopefully not.
I am relatively knowledgeable about the programs that you've done so far, and I'm not going to ask you who your favorite was because I don't want to do that. But what program did you each learn something or the most that you didn't know?
When you say program, you mean
the one that you've done?
As far as you mean for like vlogging and stuff like that?
No, I mean, you've had a number of guests on, and
what have I
talked about a number of different topics. Which one have you learned the most from one of your guests?
What's funny is I learned something different from each guest. But I will say one of the things that probably has stuck with me the most, surprisingly enough, comes from a 24-year-old by the name of Saeed. And I don't know if you remember him, Wayne. He said, I think his name was Saeed or Aid.
Ayad.
Ayad. Fuck, I'm butchering his name.
You were close. Yeah.
I mean, I had the some of the vowels in there.
There was a thing in it.
Right.
Yeah.
As Wayne will tell you, as a poker player, I'm amazing with faces. Once I see your face, I'll never forget who you are, what hand we played against, and how much the stakes were, and what the run out was. But fuck me if I can remember your name. Even if I've met you 2 or 3 times, I can't always remember names. But yes, he was one of our first guests, and he said, the first part about becoming a millionaire is believing that you can make $1 million. Same thing, the first part about becoming a billionaire is believing you can make $1 billion. So it's one of those things that I've actually taken and I've incorporated it quite a bit. When I see something that's challenging ahead of me, I say, well, the first part about doing XYZ is believing that I can do it. And then I just go out and do it. Sometimes it helps, like, if you have some skill behind it too. Like you can say, the first thing I believe about making this par 3 is a hole-in-one, knocking it right in the cup. But if you don't believe you're going to be able to have that capability to do it, then you automatically fail, So it's one of those things where I've said you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. But I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've taken was from our very first episode where we had him, even as a 24-year-old, it was interesting to hear that from, the first part about believing anything is you have to do it. And like a little background on myself, I don't know if you know this, you probably do from talking with Flounder, but I initially was going to go to law school. I was going to double dome, graduate from the University of Notre Dame, and then go back and graduate again in law school from Notre Dame. And my brother's father-in-law challenged me to find a lawyer who enjoyed their job because he owned a law firm. And It took me over 148 lunches to find a lawyer who enjoyed their job. The majority of lawyers hated themselves. They were.
I believe
happy.
that.
I would ask them, "Are they happy?" And they're just like, "No, I'm miserable." Kind of like what you said for private practice. When you are your own boss, and even like Wayne and I are our own bosses with podcast, vlogging, everything else. You just choose which 80 hours out of the week you want to work. And it's important that if you are your own boss, that you have a strong partner with you that can help support that and understand that, because that's something that's incredibly important. But I think that's probably what the biggest thing I learned was believing before you do anything that you can accomplish it. What do you think is the biggest thing that you've taken away from, and who would it be so
Before
far?
I get to that, I want to say my uncle, who I mentioned is an attorney, he actually told me that after 2 years in law school, he knew that he didn't want to become a lawyer, and then he actually hated it. But two reasons he stuck with it. One, because he was already in so much debt at that point that
Committed.
he's pot committed, basically. So he stuck with it. And two, he knew that my grandfather was very traditional in that he wouldn't let my uncle date my aunt if he didn't have a good career, like a doctor or lawyer. So that was the two reasons he stuck with it. But yeah, he told me he knew right away that he didn't want to do it. He makes good money. He owns a law firm, lives in probably $1 million house in North Jersey, but I don't think he loves it. So, but
I think it took me 6 or 7 years. The first 6 or 7 years sucked. I really didn't enjoy. I mean, I wasn't making enough money. I was vastly in debt from student loans. I'm still paying student loans. I quite frankly, that's the reason that I'm a little bit overweight still. I just assume that I'm going to die long before they get paid off.
Bro, mine started in 2000. I graduated in 2003. And one of my student loans, I just looked at it the other day. I started off owing $42,000 in 2003. It's fucking 2025, and I owe 49,000. I owe $7,000 more after paying on the son of a bitch for 23 years off and on. And just you look at it and you're like, what the system's broken. When you're talking a mortgage. Like if I go buy a house, and sorry, we're getting off the subject a little bit, but if I go buy a house and I fuck up the house and I go bankrupt, I can write off the house, right? This is like a huge problem, in my opinion, that is the next wave of problems that's coming is if you don't pay off your student loan, you can't file for bankruptcy. That shit stays with you forever.
I always like to that degree right there. That's my first house.
Yeah.
Right
there. Yeah. The education at Notre Dame was $32,000 a year, and you figure you just look at it and you're just like, holy shit. I mean, in most state colleges, like even Northern, I think is like $8,000 a year or $12,000 if you're for the whole school year. But still, at the end of the day, kids walking out of debt with 50 grand. And I don't know, the trade schools are becoming more popular because of that too. So
back a few years ago when they were talking about, whether they're going to waive all your student loans and all that nonsense, I remember talking to a couple of my friends and thought, I don't want them to get rid of my student loans. I don't care, right? I don't need them to do that. What I need them to do is I need them to say, you know what, here, we'll wipe out your the $88,000 you still owe, but I need you to sign this contract that says the $812 that I send every month, right?
Goes to it?
No. I want to, Crowley, I want you to take $813 a month and just straight ass piss it away in your community. I want you to buy an American car, and I want you to spend it at Lanyap, and I want you to tip well, right? I will take $812 and I will just smoke it in my community. I will give it to all Americans in my neighborhood, right? I'll take care of it. But yeah. Sadly, I'm not in charge of anything, so I still have to pay my student loans.
The AI camera, when you start moving your hands around for whatever reason, it picks it up.
So I'll stop that.
Yeah, that's okay. You're our first in studio guest, so we're gonna find some of the kinks now, and the fact that here we're talking about AI and all sorts of shit, and the camera's like, no, I'm gonna focus over here. That's kind of fitting. What have you learned the most, would you say, Wayne, from any of our episodes so far?
So I would say I learned the most from Matt, aka Pingy. So he was He's a guy that I met in Thailand, actually. He's been living there for a couple of years. I think he's in his late 20s, one of Justin's best friends. But really just talking to him and hearing his story, it really just inspired me to just take more chances, just kind of go for it in life. I think at 18 or 19, he booked a one-way ticket to Europe and he traveled around for a bit. Yeah, and then now he's been living in Thailand for a couple of years, and I've heard digital nomads for so many years, and he was actually the first person that I met that was actually living that life. And he said that he didn't really feel much connection to where he lived in the U.S., and he did something about it, and I applaud him for having the balls to do that, because there are so many people who are just complaining about their situation. Maybe they're broke, they haven't had success with women, what have you. And if that's the case, then do something about it. And he did. He's been living there a couple of years. He loves it. He's got a Thai girlfriend. He's doing well. So from him, I was just inspired and really just learned that if you're not happy with your situation, make a change.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate having you here, Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, we'll be seeing your name on the ballot in November. So
thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
All right.